Hello. So yeah, this is the second time we're doing this because I forgot to press the live button the first time. So
So
welcome.
anyway, nice to meet you, Harvey. We'll talk to you next time.
We've done it. Done.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice to have you here, man. Yeah, I was just introducing you again, but yeah, you actually not animator at Jellyfish currently, but maybe it's better for you to actually go ahead and introduce yourself for everyone that doesn't
Yeah,
know you again.
for sure. Again.
Again.
So yeah, as you said, I'm currently a senior animator at Jellyfish Pictures in London, and I started out in the Pixar internship, and then after that, I went to Sony where I worked on Hotel Transylvania 3, and then after that, I went back to Pixar really briefly to work on a short film called Loop, which is a fantastic experience. And then after I worked there, I moved out to London about 2.5 years ago. And when I first got here, I worked on the one and only Ivan with MPC. And then I moved over to DNEG and I worked on Ron's Gone Wrong. And then now, after that, I'm now here at Jellyfish working on the movie that we're working on at Jellyfish.
The secret movie, right?
The secret movie. Yeah.
Secret movie. Nice one. Yeah. So yeah, just like offline. I mean, actually, before I get into it, there's 14 people that's joined us. Feel free to drop a comment. As soon as the comments start coming in, I will probably post some up. Feel free to ask Ere any questions, myself any questions that you guys have. All.
Oh. Hello?
Hello.
Hey.
Oh,
there we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I lost you there for a second.
Are we good?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Someone already spotted your Sports Direct mug. Yeah, that's a classic.
Oh, really? Yeah.
That's a classic.
That's the mug of the future.
That's for sure. They don't do this anymore, I think.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I was talking with some friends from London the other day, and someone actually mentioned the Sports Direct mug. I was like,
Really?
yeah. Like they used to actually give them for free whenever you actually went to a shop and stuff.
Because we just got stuff from Sports Direct like, I don't know, 4 months ago. It was sometime in lockdown. Yeah. And they gave us 2 mugs. So
okay. So they still doing it.
I suppose.
Maybe
the past 4 months,
yeah. Anyways, as we were saying, I actually saw your showreel after actually kind of perusing the net, checking you on Twitter and all that stuff, and the attention for detail on your shots. It's pretty epic. You can definitely tell that you're passionate about this. So, can you talk a little bit about your background, like how you actually got started, your passion for animation, like growing up and all that stuff?
Yeah, for sure. So I've always wanted to do animation. Like this is pretty much the only thing I've ever wanted to do. Yeah. So I felt very lucky that I kind of knew that from a very young age, and I remember watching behind the scenes of what was it? Behind the scenes of Madagascar, I think it was. I remember seeing some people sitting at the computer, and then they're doing something and they're like clicking, and it kind of clicked for me. I was like, wait a second, if someone's sitting at a computer doing that, they're probably getting paid to do that. You can get paid to make cartoons, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, that is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then a friend of mine told me about this free 3D software that you can make games and movies and stuff. It's called Blender. You should try it out. I was like, oh my goodness, I can do that. So I started learning. I started watching all the tutorials of Blender. I remember the very first time, I will never forget, opening up Blender, moving a box across the screen, pressing play, and it moved. I'm like, oh, I'm a magician. Oh my goodness.
This is amazing.
So I was like, ever since then, I was hooked, you know?
Yeah.
So I just kind of like did everything I could to just absorb as much as I could, and started teaching myself how to do it. And then I gravitated a lot towards like acting, character animation, and all that kind of stuff, because I really wanted to be an actor as well. But then, didn't really work out.
Yeah.
Moving to Hollywood is not really that plausible for a 6-year-old. So
yeah, especially for a 6-year-old. Yeah.
yeah, or however old I was. But so I around that time was when Animation Mentor was just starting up.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I was too young to apply at the time. But luckily they had their curriculum up online. So I was like, okay, cool, bouncing ball, pendulum, this, that. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. So I started kind of going along and doing each assignment by myself. It's kind of like I do a bouncing ball, and then I'll compare it with student work online. And be like, okay, cool, kind of matches. Okay, next one, pendulum. Okay, cool, kind of matches. Walk cycle, But then after a while of doing that, getting to all the acting stuff, like you can't really just like it's not a one-to-one thing. You can't. Acting is so subjective, and I got to a place where I was like, I really can't do this by myself anymore. I really need help for someone to kind of like help guide me. So I went to like every DreamWorks movie, every Pixar movie, and I would just go into IMDb and just go through the credits list and just go click, 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 click. Everybody, all the animators, and I'll just Google everybody's names. This is a really creepy thing to say, obviously, but
we all do it though. We just
we all did it, yeah. But I Googled everybody, and whoever had an email address online, I would be like, fantastic, that's great. I created a little template for myself, like, hey, my name is Ere. I'm trying to find people to help look at my work, and I would just send hundreds and hundreds of emails. So I did this over years and years and years and years. I think I probably would have sent close to like 900, 1,000 emails, just like anybody who would ever even not even just professionals. I would email students. I would email, anybody who would see, and maybe about 10 animators got back to me, So it really was a numbers game.
Yeah. But
those 10 animators are the reason I'm here today, and like that, that's it, that's all you need.
Yeah.
So, after like, there was the first one who got back to me was Aaron Hartline. Mm-hmm. And he was very, very generous with his time and with his notes. Another animator, Joseph Hallmark, and those are two animators that really kind of basically got me into the industry, got me the start that I did. Where so like they would critique my work, and after years and years of doing that, they just started saying, you should start applying, just start applying everywhere, anywhere. And I applied to the Pixar Internship and didn't get in. And I was like, just keep going. Then I applied the next year, didn't get in. And I'm like, oh man, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing? Because I'm like, I know a Pixar animator. Why am I not in already? Like that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just kept going. And then there was one year, it was a few years ago, with Joseph, who was working at Sony at the time. I think he's at Disney now. But Joseph was like, no, you should, like, we're hiring, you should apply. And I was just like, man, this isn't an internship, this is a job. I'm not just gonna get a job. And he's like, no, I mean, apply. I'm like, oh well, I was at university at the time. And he's like, I'm like, oh well, I'm not gonna drop out of school to go to work at at Sony. He's like, oh, whatever, just apply. So I'm like, okay. I send in my reel to the recruiter, start talking to them. And then I heard nothing for a while, and then it was within a period of 1 week, 4 days it was, that after at this point it would have been about 11 years of just like trying to teach myself and learning by myself, 11 years of silence. Within 3 days, I got the offer for the Pixar internship and an interview for Hotel Transylvania. And I was like, oh my goodness, what is going on? And in the interview, I was like, okay, don't mess this up. Don't mess this up.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to tell them that I was still in university at the time because I didn't want that to affect my chances with their decision making, just in case, you know. And the first question out of the bat was like, okay, so when did you graduate? And I'm like, in 2 years. And he's like, oh, okay, wait, in 2 years. Wait, what do you mean? Yeah. And he's like, oh, so you've not graduated? I'm like, no. He's like, oh, so you're gonna drop out? And I was like, no. And he's like, oh, you know, we don't do like part-time or anything like that. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, then why did you apply? I was like, I don't know. I didn't think I was gonna get an interview. So I was like, okay.
Embarrassed, I guess.
Sorry?
You're slightly embarrassed, right? Because you got.
I was just like ready to sink into the ground. I was I put my foot all the way in my mouth. And then, so I kind of just said, oh, well, that's over. Well, at least I have the Pixar, and at least that's like a good start. So halfway through the internship, I get an email from Sony, and they're like, oh, so we kind of worked it out with the team, and if you're interested in it, we're willing to do a part-time thing for you. We've never done this before. We're going to see if this works out. But if you can work around your school schedule, we'd love to have you on board.
That's pretty cool, man. This goes to show how much they actually were impressed with your skills as well, right?
Yeah,
for them to actually kind of do an exception like that.
Or desperate, one of the two. But no, I felt very, very lucky. And so after the internship, it was literally about a week off, and then boom, right into Sony.
Nice.
And that was a fantastic experience. I learned a lot, and Sony was definitely a place that taught me about professionalism. It taught me a lot about like how to navigate the studio environment and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, man. And I definitely think that it's a great place to start out, but it definitely taught me a lot about, again, just navigation, which I think is really, really important. Yeah, man. But,
I guess discipline must be another thing as well, right?
Discipline, was huge. Right. Yeah. And what was great about kind of like doing the internship and then Sony back to back was just that it exposed everything that I didn't know. And I was just like, okay, well, tiny little things that, you know, you wouldn't normally think about. Like I tell the story a lot to kind of give people hope, is that my first experience, my first shot I ever did at Sony, I was working on it, and it was a really short shot. So I was working on it all week, and I get to the end of the week, and I'm about to publish it for final, and then the scene crashes, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Try to open it, and it's corrupted, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Worst nightmare.
So exactly, I'm thinking to myself, oh, Sony. I'm sure Sony has a tool to uncorrupt files. I'm sure, yeah. So I go up to my lead. Exactly, right. I go up to my lead, and I'm like, hey, so what are the cool Sony tools to, you know, fix this? And he's like, oh, have you tried this? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, have you tried that? Yeah. Oh, well, okay, don't worry about it. Just go to your previous save file. And I'm like,
what previous save file?
Yep. Yep. And he's like, you know, like your previous version up. And I'm like, what's a version up? He's
was
like,
I supposed to be doing that?
Exactly. He's like, was I supposed to be saving multiple files? Like, isn't that gonna waste space? And he's like, oh yeah, don't worry about space, man. Just like, first of all, so here's a little button called version up. And I'm like, okay, that I think back when you think back now, like something as basic as like versioning up. Yeah. You know, it's something you never had to learn because it wasn't something anyone told me that I had to do. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that was like I started from literal ground zero, you know, and I think it was a really great place to kind of be like, okay, these are all the tools you need. And Sony is a great place for kind of like sharpening yourself as an artist, as a professional. I think like they're really good at making you work. They're really good at making you work efficiently, and really good at making you like even with all the constraints, still getting the best out of you, in my opinion. Yeah. But yeah.
That's great, man. Yeah, it's a great story, man. Great story. Like it kind of shows that persistence and talent actually go hand in hand when it comes to these situations, right?
100%.
Yeah, because yeah, like sometimes you feel like you're doing all the right things but getting no results.
Yeah.
For years and years, I had the same situation, and then all of a sudden everything pops off, and next thing you know, you're off to the races, and
Yeah.
you're having a great career.
And it doesn't slow down.
Yeah, it doesn't slow down for sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So yeah, I was just telling you like offline as well that like I didn't know that you actually work with Aaron Baker, which which I interviewed like a few weeks ago. Like another great guy. So it turns out that Jellyfish Pictures is full of great guys. Then
it is. I am constantly impressed. Like I've been very, very, very fortunate to have been able to work on this project, or I'm still working on it. But like the people, the talent that they're getting, like we have people who used to be everywhere. People from Blue Sky, Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks. We have a lot of ex-DreamWorks people, and it's just very like. Part of me is like, how are you?
Yeah.
The other part of me is just like, I don't care. I'm gonna just like, I'm gonna utilize the fact that all this talent is around. You know,
just absorb as much information as possible.
100%. Right? Yeah.
Nice one. So yeah, we're also talking offline about like how rare it is to actually kind of meet other Black animators in the industry.
Yeah.
Right? So like I think it's something that we definitely have to touch up here, because like I'm like glad that you actually agreed to actually kind of chat with me here.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But yeah, man, it's a struggle. So it's always, to me at least, it always makes me happy to see like a fellow like brother actually making it in the industry, because like there's something to be said about like coming from a background that is normally difficult to actually get into, and it feels like you have to work harder to get anywhere and stuff like that. So whenever you make it, it feels like a massive blessing. So
100%.
Yeah, man.
100%.
Glad to see you making it out there.
Talking
about honestly. That, John Dogby just said hello from Ghana. Hello, man.
Hey. Hello.
Hello. And we have a few questions as well. Super friendly Sam, what's up? He actually kind of already has some questions, and some interesting questions as well. So maybe we can actually have a break by answering some of that.
Yeah, for sure.
So he's asking like, I want to go on my first feature next year. Any advice for stepping into that space coming from mobile games?
Yeah, I think if there's anything I could say about it, like stepping into it, have confidence. Have confidence that I think that something that's it's very, very easy to slip into, and all of us slip into it. I hazard a guess to say on a daily basis is the imposter syndrome. Is this feeling like I don't belong here? I shouldn't be, like I'm not skilled enough. I'm not going to be able to do this. But I think the number one thing you should kind of understand is that you were chosen for a reason. Like it's not random. They didn't accidentally hire you. They hired you on purpose, and especially coming in, that feeling can be very, very palpable. And I think it's really important to kind of just like walk with that confidence of just being like, yes, I can do this. I'm here, to learn. I'm here to try my best, but just continue to kind of just have that confidence and utilize the people around you. Like people around you, yes, everyone is busy all the time, but that doesn't mean that they're not gonna be able to critique your work. They're not gonna be able to help you out with trying to log in or trying to open. Like it's not a dumb question to ask, how do I open Maya? Because everywhere does it differently, and it's so like
yeah, for sure.
No dumb questions,
for sure.
And just kind of allow yourself to feel new, allow yourself to learn, allow yourself to grow. Don't feel. Yeah, that's it. Pretty much.
Yeah, it's good advice, man. It's really good advice. It's funny because like no matter how many times you say it about like the imposter syndrome, like kind of overcoming it and stuff, it's something that unless you go through it, you don't really know how much you actually have to actually go through that.
Yeah.
Because when you start to look back at your young self, you definitely can see yourself as being this bug-eyed kind of animator, kind of like and just be like, are you sure you guys got it right? Because maybe I'm not the guy. Maybe I just got lucky and stuff. So yeah, man, owning it and actually kind of faking it until you make it, as they like to say, is
Yeah,
definitely the way to go, man. And being humble about this whole situation, because
100%.
there is a lot of animators that I've seen coming up that they have a lot of ego and they don't actually want to
Yeah,
ask questions because of the ego, because they feel like they need to be in a better place or they
yeah,
are owed something. And having that humility to go back to your like fellow animator and be like, how do I do this? Or how do you actually make this
yes,
shot look so good? I don't know
yes,
this little nuance here or whatever it is.
yeah.
Definitely helps
And
out, man.
like you're just saying, like just being able to utilize those around you, because everybody is wanting to do good work, and that's
Yeah.
just being able to go up to your colleagues and be like, how did you do that? Like how that shot is so good.
Yeah.
How can I get some of that? It's
Exactly, man.
so important. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I've met like some amazing animators over the years, with incredible experience. And the one constant that they all have is that they're very humble.
Yeah.
Even after making it, like it doesn't matter if it's Glenn
Yeah.
Keane or whoever it is, they're incredibly humble and they're always
Yeah.
willing to help. There's something that like the animation industry is really good at. Just I think we all kind of like relate to with the struggle because we all
Yeah.
struggle to get into the industry and it feels like something impossible to get in. So whenever you
Yeah.
do, you want to help out others to actually get in
Hmm.
and just go through the journey,
100%. Yeah.
right? So
On
that's
topic of that humility, like there was this one of my old soups at DNEG, Tim Watts. He is hands down, I think, one of the top 5 best animators that I know, and he's
nice.
so good. He's uncomfortably good, and he's so humble about it too. Like
Yeah.
he was like, I don't know if this is a true rumor, but like he was an Oscar nominated short film director at 18 or something. He was either 18 or 28.
Wow.
I'm gonna say 18 because that's more.
More impressed. For sure.
Yeah, exactly. But he's an Oscar nominated animator. He's
Yeah.
he's worked at DreamWorks, he's worked at Disney, all sorts of places. And there was one day I was sitting in this office just like creeping on him animating, just like watching
Yeah.
watching on him animating behind his back. And I'm just like, oh, that's so good, Tim. And he was like, oh, cool. Can you like, do you have any thoughts? I'm like, I'm kind of struggling with it. And I'm like,
Yes. No,
what can I
perfect.
possibly exactly what can I possibly say to you? Like you're the master.
Yeah.
And like it looked good. It looks good. Just keep
Yeah. Continue doing what you're doing.
exactly. That's the only advice is keep going.
Yeah.
But that humility is something I aspire to.
Yeah. No, but you have all the ingredients, man. I can definitely. Oh, I can already tell. Because
Stuff.
no, because like as you go through the industry, like games in feature films, like in the end of the day, it's the same thing, just different mediums.
Yeah.
You apply your talents in different ways, but it's definitely the same kind of like vibes. And there's definitely something to be said about like leads, like how to lead a team and how to actually be like a good like person that people look up to. And
Yeah.
normally the people that have this tendency to act as they are perfect, they don't make mistakes even if they're
Yeah.
really talented. There's something off-putting about that, and especially when you actually are a junior or someone that just started, that you already feel kind of weird about asking questions because you feel like this is a lead or a supervisor or a director.
Yeah.
I don't want to bother them. It's even more off-putting when they actually kind of just have this attitude of like the know-it-all and all that stuff.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
and you have a tendency to kind of like admire much more of the people that just are humble with it. Like they are so talented, they act like they don't have any talent, right? But
Yeah.
like how can you not realize that you're this
Did you
talented?
see?
Do you even know how talented you are?
Hmm.
But yeah, if you were to ask him, you're like, no, it's just I'm just all right,
Yeah.
and it's amazing to me. It's always amazing to me when you meet people
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, cool,
100%.
man. Yeah, no, but that was a good answer, man. That was a really good answer. So here's another good question for you. How do you compare Jellyfish to Sony in terms of work?
In terms of work, um, again, all the thoughts and opinions expressed are those of my own and not the one of my. Yeah, no, I think they're different companies. They're completely different companies with different what's the word, like not mandate, like the core is different, you know. I think I'm again, like also at Sony, I was a different place in my career, different place in my life, and different place in, you know, just my outlook on different things, you know. And I think Jellyfish, I came to Jellyfish in a time when I was kind of feeling unsure about my career. I was feeling unsure about this industry, and I was kind of like, I'm not sure if this is, you know, it's high effort, very low reward sort of industry, you know. But and I felt like I've really kind of regained my love for animation again, well, as I've been working at Jellyfish. And I think at Sony, I was at a place where I was brand new to the industry. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what not to expect. Yeah. And I felt like I kind of gained a lot of tools that allowed me to kind of think a lot more critically about my work and think a lot more critically about the industry. And I think that if I didn't go to Sony, I think I would have still been a lot more naive about certain aspects of the industry and certain aspects of animation if I didn't go through those experiences. But yeah, I hope that answers. But in terms of like day-to-day work, nothing really is that different. It's you get your shot from the director. The director gives you the kickoff and it tells you the motivation of the scene, and then you have your deadline, you animate, and then you publish, and then eat popcorn in the theater when it comes out.
When it comes out, point to it.
If it comes out.
If it comes out, yeah. Nice one. There's something to be said about that first job that you get as an animator. Like the experience of it all, like super unique. Like you're really ready to absorb everything, and it's just like everything you see, every screen that you see as you walk past the corridors, you're like, wow.
Honestly.
Wow. It's so cool. I work in the best place ever. Especially when you spend a long time waiting to actually get it, and then you get it, it's like, it's crazy.
But it's just, I think like there's nothing that beats like driving to work in the morning, and like you get to work and you beep your card and you walk in the doors, and again all those computers, and you're like, I'm in.
You know? Especially when you recognize people, you're like, man, I made it. Look at, that's the guy that I was watching tutorial on. This is the other guy.
It's literally like walking into like a room full of celebrities, and then there's zero barriers. You can go up to them and talk to them, and you're like, oh my goodness, what do I do?
Yeah, exactly. Like the first live chat that I did here in this channel was with Richard Lico, and he's like an incredible experienced animator, right? I mean, people know about him, and
Richard Lico.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he just like a savant when it comes to animation, especially gameplay animation. It's really good. But he was telling us the story about when he actually got nominated for an Annie Award, that he went there and then he actually kind of stood next to Pete Docter, and he was speechless. He couldn't actually say anything.
Yeah.
In any kind of situation, you kind of think like, oh, if I were to meet Pete Docter, I'll probably say like hi or ask him questions or whatever. But just goes to show that we all have it, man. We all like that inner child, that giddy. We all have it, man. It never goes away.
That reminds me. So like, I remember when I was interning, I walked past Brad Bird once, and I was like, he was coming out of the animation department as I was about to start walking up the stairs, and I was like, oh, it's Brad Bird. Say something. Hi. And he's like, hey man. And I'm like,
nothing.
I'm Ere. And he's like, cool. I'm like, yeah, I'm an animation intern. Awesome. So I'm going to be here all summer. Great, man. Yeah.
Conversation was not going the right way.
Exactly. I'm like, all righty. I will just see you later. That is.
Yeah, that actually, like, I currently work with this guy called Leslie Benzies, and Leslie is like, he's like a industry, like in games, he's like a legend. He's basically the guy one of the guys like responsible for pretty much all the GTA's 3D that came out there. GTA San Andreas, GTA, yeah. So it was him and like the Hauser brothers, like the three of them. So those three guys are like kind of a charge of the success and all that stuff that like all the company. Yeah. But anyways, this guy is huge. And my first interview that I had in the company that I'm working on, Build a Rocket Boy, was with him to be a director, animation director there. Wow. And I had to keep my cool. Like that first, like the nervousness of the first interview they have as an animator, he all came back. Even though I've been doing this for 13 years, he was just like, just trying to act cool and stuff. Be like, like he was not in the room, and
exactly. And trying not to stare.
Try not to stare. Just like he's just another person. And it didn't help that I was interviewed by three people, another two directors, and then him, and he was the one not talking. Right, so he was just like in the room. You know how it is, right? Like when someone just makes it so big that they don't even have to say anything; they just observe.
Their aura.
Yeah. They just look. You can tell they're observing you. They're observing what you're saying. They're observing how you are and all that stuff. And you better hope to say the right things and just do the right thing. So I was trying to keep my cool and all that. Like, thankfully, I made it in the end. But like, you can see he was engaged by the end of it. He was asking me questions, so I'm like, wow, that's cool. Whatever happens, I got to speak with this guy. But he's one of those guys that like the games industry, it is the way it is now because of him and others like him. So it's
you learn so much from them too, just by being on the same projects, just by being in the same rooms as those guys. It's incredible, honestly.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like, and I get to speak with him like most weeks now, like every week pretty much. And every single time there's like a nugget, like a knowledge. Like something like he doesn't say much. He's just like a line that he actually says that then you kind of like
wow.
Kind of go to my fiance and be like, man, that was deep. Like, right? so he's that kind of person. So it's cool to see, man. It's cool to see.
100%.
So I was actually going to ask you some questions about your showreel.
Yeah, sure.
Just like because like it's excellent. I think other people should see it.
Thank you very much.
So like I'm just going to like showcase it here. Let me just, if I can make it happen. Nope, not happening.
I can reenact it if you want.
This is there you go. Here we go. So it'd be awesome for you to kind of like take us to some of the scenes, especially this first one from The Incredibles that you have here. I'm guessing you did this on your internship.
Yeah. Yes and no.
Yes and no. So how did this come about? I love it. It's a really nice piece, man. But like, how did it come about?
So I did this in the second internship.
Yeah.
So that was at a time where I was working on the short film, and the internship at the time was kind of split into two. There was like the interns that were returning interns that were kind of working on productions. And there's the interns that were first-time interns that were going through the whole classroom experience. And because I was returning, I was working on production. We didn't really get to do the assignments the same way that the other interns were doing it. Yeah. So I kind of decided, I kind of knew that the short film wasn't going to come out till, for a long time from now. So I kind of thought, you know what, this is an opportunity to kind of do personal shots with Pixar rigs. Like, why would I ever give up that opportunity? You know what I mean?
For sure.
So I was like, I'm gonna do that. So I did these like after hours on my own. But I mean, obviously, I still got critiques from the animators in the studio just because, again, I'm there. Why would I would be stupid not to use that experience?
For sure, man. Yeah.
So
that's really nice. Yeah.
This was also a time when I really was trying to. I was trying to develop a workflow that really worked for me for any shot of any complexity.
Yeah.
And I kind of, that's what kind of thing is that? I'm just going to make a workflow that works for anything. You know, obviously that didn't work out. I did develop a workflow that really like I was able to get a lot of really good results really quickly, and I think it's a workflow that a lot of people at Pixar use a version of it, and yeah, I know other animators like Kevin Yuan. He also uses it too.
Yeah,
so I think it's
nice one.
I'm rambling.
No, you're not rambling, man. It's great. And then this is Hotel Transylvania. The style of this movie, I always enjoyed it. Super stepped, and it looks really cool.
Yeah.
How much do you enjoy this in comparison to animating at Pixar? Like in terms of animation enjoyment, did you actually?
I think like working on this film kind of tweaked my artistic brain. Yeah. And then working at Pixar kind of tweaked the whole like my acting brain, because it's like I love animating, obviously, and but I also love acting, and like that's one of the main reasons I got into animation, is just being able to kind of act. If I wanted to be a dog, I could be a dog. If I could be an old person, young person, I can do whatever with animation. Yeah. So I can you know do that, and with Hotel Transylvania, there's a thing of just like, take everything you know about animation and throw it out the window. This is all about appeal and entertainment. And this was a very, very interesting show to work on, just because I can't draw very well. I'm terrible at drawing. And this movie is all about the poses. It's all about the design.
Post the pose for sure.
Exactly. So it was so tricky for me to kind of, you know, trying to adapt everything I understand, and like not being able to draw and not being able to kind of understand what design is. Yeah. But working with Gandhi Tartakovsky, like he is a master, you know, and just the way he talked about animation, the way he talked about poses and everything, kind of made, you know, it just kind of flipped my brain. Like something that is obvious is that even though it's 3D animation, it's still a 2D frame, right?
Yes, and exactly. That's a very good observation.
Yeah. And something that it didn't even dawn on me until he said that, where it was like, yo, and he never said, oh, I like this pose. He'd always say, oh, I like this drawing, you know? Oh, wow. And I'm like, oh, wait, that's true. It is a drawing. It's at the end of the day, you know, this is a 2D image, and like, how am I going to draw this image? You know, if I were to draw it, what would it look like? And that way, just kind of completely changed everything, completely changed the way I thought about my approach to posing, my approach to just posing in general, and that kind of unlocked this, you know the feeling when you're sitting in a review, and then just like all of a sudden it's like level up.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. That's really cool. And then after that, it was like personal shots that you actually had, and I'm guessing this was previous to Pixar.
Yes. So this is actually an old reel of mine. This is, so all these shots are like 3 or so years old now. Okay. But that personal shot was the one that I worked on with Joseph Hallmark, the one that sorry.
I see. Yeah. No, but I understand. Was this the stuff that you actually sent to actually get hired, like when you actually got the opportunities?
I think no. The reel that says 2017, I think, is the one that I applied to Sony and Pixar with, and that's the one that I got into. Again, I think I want to send up a very, very large disclaimer that I think a lot of it has to do with timing. And a lot of it has to do with, just their needs, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Like at the time, Sony needed a lot of people. And I'm not trying to diminish any of my accomplishments, but like, I think Sony needed a lot of people, and Sony, you know, they needed people that they could rely on. And based on the recommendations that I received, they thought, okay, well, let's take a chance, you know?
Yeah.
And
but in all honesty, I think most of the opportunities that people get out there like come from that. Like
100%.
As you know, like when a movie is about to end, when a game is about to end, things normally ramp up, especially when it comes to
Yeah,
contracting people short term in order to finish the project as best as we can. But
100%. Yeah,
it's an amazing opportunity to actually get you in
yeah.
and start working, right?
That's the thing. Is like, it doesn't matter how you get in, as long as you get in.
As long as you get
Just
in,
once
yeah.
you're in, that's it. The door is now open.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you do
Yeah,
hard work and people start noticing you, then
100%.
the sky's the limit. But this
Yeah,
piece here in particular, like I thought it was excellent. Like I can tell that you put in work on this one, and it must have taken a
thank you.
while for you to get to this. And
So this was again, like, this actually took me 1 weekend to do, just because it
wow.
was like, I was trying out the workflow that I was developing,
Okay.
and I was just like, okay, well, everything is just copying and pasting everything.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of polish to doing it, but I think, like,
Yeah.
based on the purpose of the exercise of, like, okay, well, let me try and get something really quickly that looks really good.
Yeah.
And then my friend was like, oh, can I render it? And I'm like, of course. Of course you can render it.
Yeah. I don't know how. So
Yeah, exactly. I don't,
for sure.
so it's,
That's
again,
really
timing.
cool, man.
It's all timing.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, but here on this one, I actually saw some like this piece here. I
Yeah.
think was the first thing that I saw of you, like in terms of work, and the dialogue piece is so cool. I love the fast takes when you actually kind of shake that this beat here specifically is epic.
Thank you very much.
It's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, I absolutely love playing it. So, like, this is kind of a combination of, like, the cartooniness of Hotel Transylvania and, like, this, like, the naturalism of
Yeah.
of other places, Pixar, and that.
Yeah,
And I just
exactly.
love the rhythm that comes with animation. I love playing around with this, like, highs and lows, the holds and the fast stop,
That's
and go, and just, like, you can tell a story just
Yeah.
through the movement, and
Completely.
it's so much fun to
Completely.
play with. Yeah.
Like the way you actually break down that joint here, it's so cool. Yeah, really, really
Thank
nice.
you very
Man.
much.
Yeah. Yeah. So talking exactly about that, the highs and lows. I was talking to someone else here in the live chat about like Brad Bird and how much I actually enjoy him as a director.
Yeah.
And my theory, and once again, whenever I meet him, hopefully one day,
Don't stutter. Don't.
I'll probably do it like worse than you did, or like nothing will come out. But yeah, I kind of feel like all the time that he acquired as an animator, he applied to his storytelling and the timing of the whole story. In terms of high and lows and telling a story on the beat and making sure that he grabs the audience when he needs to, he lets them breathe when he needs to, and it's never too much. And I kind of feel like got all that from animation.
100%.
That's
and it's the same thing. I saw this quote from Steven Spielberg. That if you want to be a good if you want to be a good director, learn animation. Because animation teaches you animation is a nice little microcosm of everything you need to know about filmmaking. Like being able to find the rhythm, find eye direction and appeal, and how to cut, how to stop, how to hold, how to do fat. And it's very, I mean, filmmaking is much more complicated than animation, but it's true. It is very true.
Yeah. I heard the same exact thing, and like I could not agree more. Like someone else mentioned. And I forgot who mentioned this, but something along the lines of like every animator is a director. They just don't know it. And the more time you spend animating, the more time you spend in the industry, the more you have a tendency to actually want to actually have a bigger view, and more of an impact on what you do. This is exactly why I'm actually directing animation for games now. It really comes from exactly the same standpoint as like
100%
of actually being able to actually kind of touch more people and me having like a bigger view of what gets done, and making sure that all the animation is actually kind of like up to you as a director, and you actually have a saying on every single part of the whole side of things. And it just makes it more enjoyable, especially now, because I feel like I'm at the point now that I've animated enough. I feel like I want to help others as well. So
100%,
that thing that we're talking about in the beginning about animators wanting to help others, then it comes like twofold, like tenfold whenever you actually have you are a director, because now you can help
Yeah.
animators to be better animators, but also in return they actually help you to have a better project, because
Yeah.
now they're actually working harder for you. So it becomes like super, super good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, man. Anyways, I digress.
I mean, that's the point.
Yeah, exactly, man. So
Yeah.
this is more Hotel Transylvania shot,
Yes.
right?
This was a shot that crashed.
Was this a shot that crashed?
This is the shot that crashed and got corrupted, and I had to
So,
redo all of it in 2 days.
oh my god. So the
Yeah.
original shot took how long?
The original shot took like a week,
Yeah.
but I mean, it took a week to kind of save all the cycles and all that kind of stuff. And like I think most of it is just figuring out how to do it, and then the rest of it is just doing it.
Yeah, of
Once
course.
you know how to do it, it's just execution is a lot quicker, in my opinion.
For sure. It still hurts though to actually have a thing like that crash, right?
It did. It really did hurt.
And this is for the short that you
Yeah.
mentioned you worked at Pixar, right?
Yeah, that was a very very good experience, honestly.
Yeah.
So
I watched it. Excellent short.
yeah.
Yeah.
So my soup on this short was my instructor from the year before.
Okay.
So he was like, I know yeah, sure. And he gave me a lot of work to do, and he trusted me with so much.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was again, like I'm sitting in a room showing my shots in front of Michael Makarovich and Travis Hathaway and Ron Zorman, who I shared a shot with Ron Zorman, who was on Toy Story 1. You know, I'm just like
superstars. Superstars, yeah, for sure.
like these rock stars, and I'm like, I should not be here. This is not good, you know?
Yeah.
But it was I think not even just like the animation aspect of it, but also just the aspect of like animating an autistic character.
Yeah.
That was in and of itself so inspiring, terrifying, because it's like you don't want to do it wrong, and then you don't want to offend or mess up, or especially because this is one of the first times autistic people are being shown in animation.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of like internal seminars and internal meetings where we would have people come in and talk about their experience of how they're having an autistic child or being autistic in a certain way themselves, and how the spectrum is just so wide and all these different things. I had absolutely no idea. Like stemming the reason a lot of like nonverbal autistic people do a lot of things is because they're trying to just kind of as far as I understand, they're trying to kind of cause simulation, that cause some sort of sensory something that allows them to kind of focus a little bit more, as far as I understand.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just such a cool experience. I also got to canoe, which was great. I also learned how to canoe, which was great. Capsized 3 times.
Did you? Was that for reference?
Yeah. It was for reference, yeah. But I mean, it was great because you know how you always hear, oh, they went on a research trip to blah 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 blah. Yeah. So I also got to go on a research trip to the local marina, I think it is called. Yeah. And got to like canoe around the lake and learn how to do that. And man, it was a great experience. It was really great. Man.
I love how far they go in terms of getting reference and making sure it feels realistic, because
the authenticity.
Yeah, exactly. It takes it back to the Disney days where he used to ask all animators to just like used to bring like lions into the studio,
and deer and bears and stuff. And it was like, what?
Yeah. And pay for trips to go to Africa to make sure that you're there.
Right.
Yeah, that is truly getting into character, right?
100%. Yeah. And it definitely helped. It's always a thing. If there's anything I learned about animation, is that most things you think about mechanically, it works the opposite. So like with canoeing, I was like, okay, well, you should probably like the backstroke will be faster than the front stroke. Again, but it's completely opposite. It's like the backstroke is a lot longer, and then you come and do this, and it's like but just things that you wouldn't have realized until you physically do it. And then you're like, oh, that feels completely different. So when you're animating it, the truth that you bring to animation is just so vastly different.
Exactly.
the value is just so, yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Yeah. So the shots from Pixar, the internship.
Yeah.
Oh, and this is some of the work that you've done in NPC, right? That you were saying.
Yes.
Nice one. Was this for a commercial?
No, this is for One and Only Ivan.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you did mention before. Yeah.
That was also a very interesting experience.
Because you actually went from like cartoony animation to more realistic animation in terms of weight.
Yeah.
As well. So how was that, the change between one and the other?
So it took a little bit, yeah, for sure. Because firstly, I never really used reference before this, before I went to NPC.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, if a real animator feels out his animation, he doesn't use reference. He,
comes out natural.
Exactly. If you don't do it from your brain, you didn't come from your heart. It didn't come from your heart. Yeah. But so I get to NPC, and then they're like, yeah, so we're not allowed to start animating until the reference is approved. And it's like, I'm like, what? Wow. I go from not using any reference to not being able to animate unless I use reference, Yeah. That was a huge like, oh, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But no, it definitely turned. Now I only use reference because it's like the benefit. First of all, is way faster. Second of all, like you can get out so many more ideas, so much quicker than if you were to kind of like try it and it didn't work. Try it differently. Oh, it didn't work. What would take you a week, you can do in 5 minutes.
It's a massive shortcut. That's
exactly.
That's for sure. Yeah, and as long as you plus it and you actually bring something onto it, then
reference it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Like it took me years for me to actually get around the idea of like referencing and cheating. Until a great animator that I met just told me like it's actually not. You're saving yourself a lot of time.
Yeah,
and you actually get things like mechanically in the body correct first and foremost.
Yeah,
you actually want to get it right, the weight, and then you learn from it as well. And then if you actually just want to do it off the top, you can always do that. That's always
It's a tool. It's a tool in your tool belt.
Completely, man.
Yeah, but that's a huge mental block I also have to kind of overcome of like, oh no, reference is cheating. It's cheating.
Yeah,
it's not.
It's not, man. It's not at all. Yeah, it's not for nothing. It's not. This is the reason why the old masters used to use it.
Yeah.
To the point, like Snow White was pretty much like just rotoscoping, right?
Yeah, and also Robin Hood and that too. Like
Robin Hood, yeah. So the line gets a bit blurry there, but if it was good for them, it's good for us as well. This is a great piece as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So nice for you to take us through this. This is weird to kind of like review your own showreel live.
Yeah. It's first for everything,
Someone actually asked a question about teaching. How do you find teaching?
Yeah.
Because that's another skill. That's for sure another skill.
Yeah, for sure. I absolutely love it. Like I think it's something that I'm still very new to it. I only started teaching this year. I started teaching pretty much at the beginning of lockdown.
Yeah.
But like it's definitely something I thought I couldn't do before, especially because it's like, okay, well, what am I to say? How am I to tell anybody else how to animate? Like I don't know how to animate.
Yeah.
But like your eye completely changes when you start teaching. I think you start thinking a lot more critically about other people's work and your work as well. Mm-hmm. Like it allows you to it's kind of like gives you this shortcut to kind of finding out what's wrong with your shot. Like you watch a shot a lot and then you kind of like, well, I don't know. It's just not working. I don't know why it's not working. And you sit there for hours and trying to figure it out. But then I think once you start developing that tool, I'm, again, by no means a master teacher by anything, but like it's kind of allows me to look a shot and go, okay, well, it's not working. usually it might be this or this. Which one of this might it be? And usually it's one of those things, you know. And it's like, okay, well, and then it allows me to kind of cut through the hours of you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's really. But I also love it.
Yeah.
And I've been doing a lot of private tutoring, and then just recently I just started with Anime Warriors. That was at the beginning of at the end of October, and it's been great. Honestly, my class, I'm very, very lucky with my class. Like they're so like so the course is on improv for animation.
Yeah, I've seen the teaser that you actually made.
Awesome. Well, I'm embarrassed. But yeah, so nobody in the class had done improv before, and I was kind of like, okay, not only is it going to be like an animation course, but it's going to be like a full-on improv course.
Yeah.
And at first, a lot of them were kind of shy, but I'm like, everyone's starting to open up, and everyone's kind of working with each other, and like it's just so exciting to kind of see them kind of go. Like, I think the best feeling sometimes is when you say something and you think you're rambling, and you say something and you hear someone go, oh, yes, yeah, that's it, and I'm like, I said something, okay, I
made sense.
I meant
exactly
to say
what I meant. Yeah,
exactly. But you know, I'm loving it, and like it's really, really cool to see. It's really, really cool to see the ideas that they're coming up with, and all of that. So it's really cool to,
that's nice, man. Yeah, I feel like once again, I never remember the people that actually took quote, but like someone famous, I'm sure, said that that there's no better teacher than teaching, and it's this like repetition, right? Because we live so much, at least that's my theory, we live so much in our head that you feel know what you know, and you don't have to say it out loud to anyone else because you know it, and then you go and do it. But you having to explain yourself to someone else that knows less than you or more than you, especially when you're in dailies and you have someone that is better than you, and you have to explain yourself about exactly why were your choices in animation right now, whatever. And it needs to make sense. That stuff is kind of like scary in the beginning.
100%.
And then when it makes sense, and the person actually, or the people, if you have students, actually go like, "Wow, I've learned something new that I didn't know before about this." Things. Kind of like verifies your knowledge, and all of a sudden you know better because you thought that was true, but you're not sure. But now you know.
Or how to explain it, you know, or like you never having to like not having to ever explain something, and then all of a sudden having to explain it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that change is like, oh, well, how do I verbally express this thing like you're feeling, you know?
Exactly. And you have to break it down in a way that is understandable to, especially when you're students, people that perhaps don't have as much experience than you. So therefore you have to explain it in the most simplest way that makes sense to them. Which is yet another skill that is good to have. So yeah, man, it's super rewarding. So I'm glad to actually get to see them, man. It's really cool, and
it's addicting too. That rush of like hearing the it's like
turns out I know some things,
right?
It's kind of how it feels. Nice one. Someone else actually asked you another question here. What was your biggest aha moment as an animator, whether technical or philosophical?
There's been a couple for sure. I think the first one that comes to mind is working on Hotel Transylvania. I remember there's a shot that I was doing. I was struggling so much with it, and it was in the grand scheme of things, it was a pretty simple shot. It was like a bunch of characters just kind of walking down a hallway, and then there's a character that kind of came into frame and it turned his head and then kind of walked out of frame. And like I did the shot, and then I did the head turn, and then I showed it to my lead, and my lead was like, "You need to make it snappier." And I'm like, "Okay." So I went and did it again, make it a little snappier, and looked at it, showed it to him again. He said, "Nope, even snappier." And I'm like, "But it's a 3-frame head turn. How can you make it snappier than a 3-frame head turn?" And I'm like, "Wait, what if I put it what if I made it a 1-frame head turn? And then I did that, and I showed it to him. He was like, "Yep, that's perfect." And I'm like, "But you're not allowed to animate things on like over 1 frame. That's not possible." You can, and it's like, but it works.
Exactly.
Like just there's rules, but then sometimes when you bend those rules, I think that was a moment where I was like, "Wait a second. So if I can do that, doesn't that mean that I can do this? That works. Does it?" And all these different things are like, wait, so I can break rules and it can still look good.
Yeah.
If there's any students in here, don't break the rules. Follow the rules all the time. But
too early.
Yeah. But no, honestly, I think that was like one of those moments where I was really like, whoa, you can do things that aren't normal, and it's still, they can still look good, and you can try different things. And I think I generally think like just every single studio I've worked at is just like a gradual aha, like I think Pixar was definitely an aha for acting. Sony was an aha for like cartoony and appeal and everything. MPC was an aha for blocking, and and so on and so forth. And I think it's definitely, there's definitely moments, but then I need to do better at cataloging them. But that's the one moment that kind of like I don't think I'll ever forget, because it was so like I was tapping people around me and like, you can do this. This is incredible.
I guess your creativity expands, right? Because it turns out you can actually be creative outside of the rules, not only
exactly.
Makes sense, man.
Yeah.
John asked, how do you know or feel and respond when you teach someone aspects of animation and they seem not to get it?
Blank look is a pretty clear indicator that they're not getting what you're saying. It's like the whole like, that it's like, okay, let me try and explain it differently. And I feel, I feel kind of like, okay, let me try and attack it differently. And if I explain it in a different way, or try to do my best not to over explain, but then kind of round out what I've already said, I think that's I think that's the more important part of it, is trying to get, what am I trying to say? This is it. This is the trying to explain something.
Yeah.
But like, it's fine. Like I keep on telling myself, anytime I explain something and someone doesn't quite get it, it's fine. Just try and come at it differently, And I think that's the same thing for even animating your shots. It's like, okay, well, if you have an idea for an acting choice or whatever, and then you animate it and people don't quite get it, cool, just come at it differently, or try something else, or try, or have someone else say, okay, well, what is not clear here, in the shot, or if in the thing I'm explaining when I'm teaching, so what didn't you understand by what I said? And like, oh, well, this and that. Like, okay, cool, let me break down piece by piece what I was meaning, I think like you just kind of need to be a little bit more patient with yourself as well, and be a little bit more patient with the people that you're teaching. And examples always work too.
For sure. Yeah, I feel like patience is definitely key. I believe that the best teachers are normally the most patient, and I feel like there's two aspects of this, like analyzing, being a people's person, like kind of like knowing exactly, because people are different, right? Animators are different. Some animators are really good at certain things, some of them aren't, and you being that vessel that kind of helps them to actually kind of direct them to the right thing, it means quite a lot of things. And I feel like there's animators that actually get the answer by themselves, like the super talented people. You know from the junior level that they will actually make it big, because they're just naturally talented. So they will actually get to their answers as long as you give them like some small signs of like, try this, try that, try that. They will connect the dots. They'll connect the dots to get to the place. And then there's other animators that normally is a little bit more difficult to get to that end post, but they actually get it eventually. And I find that the most help that you can give them is by allowing them to kind of sort out in their heads what's important, like what you're saying right now about them talking you through like exactly what they don't understand. What I also do as well is like show me what you think is wrong with the shot in your mind.
Yeah.
So then I can actually kind of fill in the slots, because
Yeah.
having that, sometimes, I don't know if you actually experienced this yet, but sometimes having a mentor can be too much of a crutch.
Yep.
So people don't actually do the work to get to the end
Yeah.
result, because they keep asking you every 5 minutes about, and it's fine, like asking questions, it's no problem as much as you want,
Yeah.
but not when it's like all the time, in terms of like you almost doing the job for them.
Yeah.
So you actually getting to that point of like asking them to tell you what they think that is wrong
100%.
will
Yeah.
actually get them much further, because you're
Yeah.
teaching them how to fish instead
Yeah.
of get,
Giving them buckets and buckets of fish.
fish. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my experience, anyways. When it
Yeah.
comes to that.
I think I 100% agree with that, and I think like something that I've been very very conscious about doing is that at any time I start a critiquing session, it's always a thing of like always ask first, how do you feel about the shot? I want to get a feel of like, where do you feel like you're at, and how do you feel? What do you like? What do you not like? And then once I figure that out, okay, cool. These are the areas that this is what I see, and this is what you see, and let me just try and help you. Let me try and ask the right questions for you to kind of fill in the dots by yourself, as opposed to being like, okay, cool, go here and then go here and then go here and then go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
I think it's a lot better to kind of, again, like you said, teach to fish than just give fish.
Just give fish. Yeah, and that's another lesson that you learn as an animator as well, right? Because when you go in, especially when you spend a lot of time waiting to go in, you kind of think, now I'm going to learn so much.
Yeah.
But most people are normally busy. And you kind of have to know how to connect the dots by yourself a little bit. Like they can help you, but there's only so much they can help you. So
100%.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Cool. No, that's a good answer as well. And like, lastly, I wanted to ask you about your, you are, let me get this right. I believe you mentioned that you are, you do stand-up comedy. Am I right?
Not stand-up comedy. I was starting to do stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
And then, little global pandemic happened, and it was
little thing.
Yeah. But no, I've been doing like improv comedy for about 6 years now.
Improv comedy. That's cool.
Yeah.
And like, as soon as I saw that, because I saw that on the teaser that you did, which I thought it was super interesting. Improv comedy, I think, is excellent. Poetry, like I used to go to like poetry
slams and all that.
Slams in cafes and all that stuff in London. There's plenty of them. Always awesome to actually go to them. Do you think that helps you with the animation?
100%. 100%. That's why you should take my course, improv for.
Perfect. Tweet it in.
Because I was going to slide in that. No, but I genuinely think that it has made me a better animator. Because first of all, timing, right? Comedy and timing comedy is all about timing, and animation, I feel, is all about timing and rhythm and trying to get that, how to direct the audience's eye and all that kind of stuff. But the thing that I think is even more important, that I really like improv specifically about, is that improv is a team comedy sport, and it's a team sport about like listening and responding and listening and responding, and on a production, it's all about, giving ideas and having ideas rejected and how to deal with rejected ideas. And sometimes things may not land, but sometimes things, like when your colleagues is on a roll, you want to start throwing stuff at them so they shine and shine and shine and shine, and then like it's not about you, it's about the whole, and I love that. I love that concept, the teamwork aspect of it, like the fact that if one person shines, we all shine, and I love that so much. And, just being able to kind of get to this place where everyone is just kind of fluidly moving. And there's a moment, there's always shows where you're doing improv, and then like, it just feels so natural. Everyone and the audience is laughing and everything is just happening. And it's just so fluid. And that same feeling can be found in a production where it's like, you're shooting ideas, and like you have your shot, and like the director gives you a new idea, and then the colleague gives you another idea, and it's just like, oh, you know, except that project is stretched out over 5 years, but
Yeah.
you know,
Besides that,
besides a little thing.
yeah.
I absolutely love like all the things. It's just kind of it lends itself so nicely to animation, you know.
That is cool, man. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't aware. You kind of have a feeling, especially when you're an actor, that you actually feel like acting, like
Yeah.
theater acting. You know, like, you know, not like cinema, but theater acting, where you actually have the audience in front of you. That you probably get a lot from that in order to actually kind of get not only reference, but to know how to kind of like connect with the audience. And I'm guessing
what land, what doesn't.
Exactly. So, and for you, you get it even like because you're improvising, and on top of that, you have the audience there to know to react to you, so you know what's working. And I guess you actually have to change it on the spot if it's not working, and come up with something else.
The other thing too that's so interesting, because I did mostly university improv, but then like the comedy that lands at university is different from the comedy that lands at a cafe downtown. Is different from the comedy that lands, you know, at a women's conference. It's different for, you know, so you have to be like so ready to kind of adapt and try things, be willing to have it fail, and just be like, okay, cool, that didn't work. Let me try something else. Okay, that works. Okay, let's keep on. You know what I mean?
And it must build a lot of resilience in you to know if something is really tanking, that you have to keep going.
Yes.
And until something sticks, right?
Yes. I think this sounds sadistic, but I love when shows bomb, because like we're all in it together. It's just like, okay, nope, none of our jokes are landing. Cool. And we go, you know, and afterwards, and everyone's kind of at the table, just kind of like, you know what? It's okay. We did nothing was funny, but we're all here still, you know?
Okay.
Yeah. I love that feeling. And it's like when it's the feeling of, you know, something's not working.
Yeah.
And you tried a bunch of different things to make it work, but it's not. So you're like, okay, let's just keep going. We're gonna crash
next time,
but it's fine. Yeah, exactly.
and you get, I guess you get paid. Like you actually go to these things and you actually get booked for like an hour. Is it like half an hour?
It can be hour to 2 hours. Yeah,
hours to 2 hours.
So like there was once, I think the longest thing. I mean, this is the longest thing I ever did, was a weekend at a women's conference.
Yeah,
it was just like an all male improv group. Spending weekend at a women's. I was very like. It was at first, because we are part of our team. Like there were female members on the team, but they were all busy that weekend. So it was like that is comedic in and of itself, right? Yeah. So it was multiple sessions, and we kind of like we did it every 2 evenings. So that was fun.
Nice one.
Yeah.
It sounds like you have, and it must take your mind off work in animation.
100%.
Big time, right?
Yeah, because especially like you have someone who's a lawyer, and this other guy's a, you know, electrician, and you're an animator, another person, and there's always the actor in the group. He's like, this is so below me. I don't want to.
Nice one. Yeah, it's cool, man. It's really cool. Yeah, so you actually keep it really interesting between animation and improv as well. That is awesome.
I think that's so important to kind of like get out of yourself a little bit and just explore, you know.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. I actually did a video not long ago about like why I do these YouTube videos. And it's exactly for the same reason that you do improv. Like it just gets my mind off work. And as you know, like things get really intense in the project.
Yeah.
The more you worked on. Like at the position that I am at the moment, things get super intense. It's a lot of decisions to be taken every day, a lot of times, several times a day. So when it comes to the weekend, I found myself, especially in the beginning, to just like go to the weekend, a couple of days, just thinking about work, and then Monday, and then it just feels like you're constantly at work, even though you're taking 2 days off, it doesn't really count because you're just constantly at work. So having something that you're passionate about on the side that
so
takes it takes your mind off work as much as work. Then it's just something super important, man, to keep the equilibrium, because otherwise, it's just
burnout.
It's not for the faint-hearted, especially when you actually do overtime and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it's cool to it's cool to see you doing your thing, man. And can anyone go and see you someplace doing improv live?
I mean, not now.
But, that's true.
Nah, so London has been a bit of a weird time. Like ever since I moved here, I tried to get into some of the improv teams out here, but they have to, like, the people who are more experienced. I'll say that very diplomatically.
Okay.
People who are more experienced, they require that you take like classes to even get into the base level, and it's just like,
Yeah.
I'd rather not spend £800 on on something that is just going to get me to the base level of some. And that's another conversation for another day. But I think there's stuff out here, but that's why I'm kind of going more into stand up, because it's just like I can just go and just do it, and like I can just have fun one night and then
That's it.
go home, get more material, and go back and then make my thing. But the thing about stand up is that it's a little bit. I enjoy it, but it feels too organized.
Yeah, so you kind of have to actually repeat the material every time you go to a place.
It feels a little phony. Yeah, a little bit.
It's something that I know we're actually going completely off topic, but it's something that I always wondered, how can like a person like Eddie Murphy kind of repeat the same jokes with the same passion every single time, months and months of just doing the same material, and then just go back and do the same thing over and over again. It must be exhausting, right?
I'm sure it is.
Yeah. Cool.
But it's fun too.
Yeah, no, I can imagine.
Yeah,
I can imagine. Cool. Okay, Ere. Well, it's been over an hour now, an hour and 15 minutes. So I don't want to take any more of your time, man. It's 10:20 here in the UK. So yeah, I think we can wrap it up there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed yourself. And
sorry. It was great, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, no, likewise, man. Thanks a lot for taking the time, man. It's a pleasure talking to you, and I hope we can actually get to do it in the future. No problem.
Absolutely, man. Many times.
Awesome. That's great, man. I'll hit you up. Let's keep in touch, and then talk to you online.
Alrighty.
All right, man.
See you there, man.
See you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the questions.